Welcome back. And now we are going to continue our study in Genesis, and we're going to go into chapter 46, Genesis chapter 46. And before we do that, let's look at some other witnesses of our sojourn. And this, again, when we're looking at this history, that's what this is. This is our history. It's the history of our people, the history of where we came from, the history of who we are. This today, a lot of people are have been, especially the so-called black people, the so-called African Americans, the former slaves, have been seeking, especially in the last 100 years at least, they've been seeking their origin. We've been seeking who we are because of all of the people in the entire planet Earth. We are the only people who don't know where we are, who we are. Let me say it again. Of all the people in the entire planet Earth, we who are the former slaves, especially those of us descendants of former slaves in the United States of America and in Britain and in the islands and in Brazil and in the South Americas, we don't really know who we are. And it starts with America. Because you see, in America, the United States of America, those of us that are the former slaves here, we can't do like some of our brothers do and our sisters. Like some of our brothers and sisters, you say, where are you from? They'll say Dominican Republic. Or they'll say Haiti. Or they will say Jamaica. Or I'm from Trinidad. Now, none of those things are true. None of them. Just like we who are here in the United States of America, though we were born here, we're not from here. And we who are in the United States of America, the former slaves, are the first ones to understand of all of our brothers who we really are, where we really come from. And a lot of the brothers and sisters here in the United States of America are seeking their past. There have been people doing it, y'all know, leaving the United States, going to Africa to seek their past, going to the origins of the transatlantic slave trade and seeing the place that is called Judah, where they were being held for transport across the Atlantic, and seeing the jails and the chains that were used to hold us. And they're looking, the people going back there are looking for their origin. It's like an orphan that was adopted, looking for their bloodline, mama and daddy. And so a lot of our people travel looking for their mama and daddy because we don't know. We were orphans. But now, because of the blessing of our Heavenly Father, because of the eternal wisdom and guidance of our Heavenly Father, because it is time, according to the word given from our Heavenly Father and his holy prophets, especially the top prophet, Messiah Yahushua, we are now knowing who we are, where we come from, who our origin is. And we know now. We came from Adam like everybody else. And we came through Adam's chosen ones of Enoch, Methuselah, Seth, people like that, to Noah. Through Noah, we came through Shem. From Shem, we came through Arphaxad and a man named Eber, who was the first man of the Hebrews. From Eber, we came down through Abraham, who was called, as we're going to see here in Psalms 105, was called from Ur the Chaldees and promised to become a nation. From him to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, whose name was changed to Yashar-al, or Israel, and Israel had 12 sons. And we are the descendants of those 12 tribes. That's who we are. That's our bloodline. That's our family tree. That's our history. So that when you're looking at this book, when you're studying this book, you are studying your family history. You're studying where you come from. You're studying how you came from people who were kings and queens. You're studying where you came from people who were called by the only true God as a nation before it was a nation. You're studying your history and you're studying about your future, which this book calls prophecy. Prophecy is the future of Israel, among other things. But for us, it's our future. The prophets are our cousins. They're Hebrew Israelite bloodline cousins, and they tell us of our future. You're no longer an orphan. You no longer need to travel the earth to find out where you belong. You now know who you are and where you belong. You now know where you came from and how you started. And you now know what your future is. No need for a crystal ball or tarot cards or the studying of stars to know these things. Psalms 105. Psalms 105. I'm going to begin at verse 1. Psalms 105. And I'm going to go down from verse 1 down to verse 24. Psalms 105, the 105th division of Psalms 105, beginning at verse 1, and we're going to read steadily down to verse 24, talking about our history. Psalms 105, beginning at verse 1, and we'll read steadily down to verse 24. Today, we're going to read Genesis chapter 46 and look at our family tree. Beginning at verse 1. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh. Call upon his name. Make known his deeds among the people. Sing unto him. Sing psalms unto him. Talk ye of all his wondrous works. Glory ye in his holy name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek Yahweh. Seek Yahweh and his strength. Seek his face evermore. Remember his marvelous works that he hath done, his wonders and the judgments of his mouth. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. He is Yahweh, our most high. His judgments are in all the earth. He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham, and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying unto thee will I give the land of Canaan, and the lot of your inheritance. When they were but a few men in number, yea, very few, and strangers in it, when they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another, he suffered no man to do them wrong. Yea, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm. Moreover, he called for a famine upon the land. He brake the whole staff of bread. He sent a man before them, even Joseph, who was sold for a servant, whose feet they hurt with fetters. He was laid in iron until the time that his word came. The word of Yahweh tried him. The king sent and loosed him, even the ruler of the people, and let him go free. He made him lord of his house and ruler of all his substance, to bind his princes at his pleasure and to teach his senators wisdom. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. and he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies. Praise the Most High. Let us not forget, brethren, the Father has all things in his hands. Time is in his hands. Let us not forget, because he is Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He is above time and space. He placed us in time and space, but he is above time and space. Let us not forget. Okay? He is above time and space. Also, he, that is the Father, controls people on the earth. He can increase a people and he can decrease a people. He can cause people to come into existence and he can cause people to cease to exist, because he is the Father, because he is the only true God, because he is power. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. Now, let's go to Acts, the book of Acts. And let's start in chapter 6 of the book of Acts. Chapter 6. And then we'll read a little bit, not all, but a little bit into chapter 7 of the book of Acts. But let's get some context, some important things from chapter 6 of the book of Acts. Acts chapter 6. This is our history. Now, as we know, as we have studied from the word of the Most High, our future is bound in a book called the Revelation. It is the revealing of the Messiah. It is the revealing of our future, which is why we study it year to year, the book of Revelation. We might study it after now. I don't know. I'm looking for the Father's sign, but we might study that book after now. But we were always going to the book of Revelation because that is the future of the Israelite people. I know people are listening and say, what about all the rest of the people on the earth? The whole earth future is bound to the future of Israel, according to this book. The future of the entire planet is bound to the future of Israel, according to this book. So when you want to study the future of the planet, look at the future of the Israelite nation, because the future of the planet is tied to the future of the Israelite nation, according to the Father. So Revelation is a compilation, no rhyme intended, but Revelation is a compilation of all of the prophets' words of the Hebrew Israelite prophets of the rest of the Bible, bound succinctly, distinctly, and succinctly into one volume called Revelation that reveals us in our future. Here in Acts, it's revealing our past. Acts chapter 6, let's begin at verse 1. Acts chapter 6, beginning at verse 1. I'm going to start at verse 1. It's only 15 verses, but there's some important things in here that I want us to observe in Acts chapter 6. Okay? Beginning at verse 1, let's go down to verse 4 to start off. Acts chapter 6, from verse 1 to 4. Acts chapter 6, from verse 1 to 4. And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them and said, it is not reason that we should leave the word of Yahweh and serve tables. Wherefore, brethren, look ye out among you 7 men of honest report, full of the Holy Ghost and wisdom, whom we may appoint over this business. But we will give ourselves continually to prayer and to the ministry of the word. So first, let's look up this word, Grecians. You will find they are Hellenists. They are Greek-speaking Hebrews. Okay? They weren't Gentiles. There's a difference between the Greek that are the Gentiles and the Greek that are the Hellenists. The New Testament uses the words synonymously, but you'd have to look them up and it'll tell you, like in this case, it will tell you they were Hellenists. Hellenists are Hebrews that spoke Greek or that lived among the Greek people that were Hebrews. might not have actually been following all of the laws and statutes and commandments of the fathers, but they were of the bloodline. Very important to understand that. They were the bloodline. So they were bloodline Hebrews that were living like Greeks that have come to the truth of the Hebrew Messiah. And they were not getting the attention that the widows were not getting the attention in terms of help from the brethren, financial help from the brethren, that the Hebrews that were speaking Hebrews, that were among the Hebrews, were getting. And so they complained about that. And so the disciples came together and they said, look, we are busy preaching and teaching the word, but we need to have somebody handle this business. So you, brethren, choose people full of the Holy Ghost, that is, full of the Father's Spirit of righteousness, that are wise, that can handle, that can organize this business, because this needs to be taken care of. So they did. Okay. But they said, we're going to continue to give ourselves to the word and to prayer. That is, there were some, remember Paul said in Ephesians, there are some given to be teachers, some given to be apostles, some given to be prophets, some given to be evangelists. So the apostles were given to be apostles. And so you had others that were going to be given the gift of the Father's Spirit so that they can minister to the Hellenists as well, to the widows among the Hebrews. Verse 5. Let's read from verse 5 down to verse 9. Acts chapter 6 from verse 5 to verse 9. And the saying pleased the whole multitude, and they chose Stephen, a man full of faith and of the Holy Ghost, and Philip and Prochorus and Nicanor and Timon and Parmenas and Nicholas, a proselyte of Antioch, whom they set before the apostles when they had prayed, and they laid their hands on them. And the word of Yahweh increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly. And a great company of the priests were obedient to the faith. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. And there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and Cyrenians and Alexandrians, of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. Question. Mentioning the Libertines, the Cyrenians, and the Alexandrians. Where did those Hebrew Israelites come from? Where are those places? Libertines, Cyrenians, Alexandrians. Where are those places? Do y'all know? Where are those geographic areas? This is, they said, these are people from synagogues. And they must have had some sort of juice because they were disputing with Stephen. Where did these people come from? No, not Greece. No, not Italy. Cilicia and of Asia is Greece and Italy, but I didn't ask you about them. I said Libertines and Cyrenians and Alexandrians. They were all Africa. Libertines, that's the Libya. Cyrenians, that's North Africa. Alexandria is the name that was changed from Mizraim to Egypt by Alexander. All of those brothers were Africans from the land of Africa. And they were Hebrews that had a synagogue. Yeah. Now the Cilicia, yes, that's Italy and Greece. And Asia, that's Turkey and all that. Yes, they were there too. But I'm telling you that here is telling you the synagogue called the Synagogue of the Libertines. That's for North Africa, Libya. And then you have Cyrenians. Remember Simon of Cyrene, North Africa. Then Alexandrians. Alexandria was the name that was Kemet, that was changed to Alexandria, Egypt. See, yeah, y'all got that? So they were African, Hebrew, Israelites. But these had not accepted Messiah. It did say, though, that a great number of priests had received Messiah. Now, very important that we understand, at this point in the book of Acts, no Gentiles receiving this truth. These are all Hebrew Israelites. Y'all understand that? All of these people that they're talking about here in chapter 6 are Hebrew Israelites. None of them were Gentiles. There were no Gentiles receiving this truth. There were the Grecians, who are the Hebrews that were speaking Greek. There were the Hebrews in Jerusalem. And notice it said the disciples were multiplied in Jerusalem because that's where they all gathered together. Okay, so these were all Hebrew Israelites at this time. The Gentiles had not gotten the message yet. The Gentiles wouldn't get this message until chapter 10. That's when they would first get the message. Chapter 10. Right here, there was no Gentiles getting this message. There was no gospel to the Gentiles at this time. It was all to the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, all right. All right, let's continue. We stopped at verse 9. Now we'll go to verse 10 through 15. That's right. Neither Paul nor Peter had received the message yet. Paul hadn't even received the message yet. He was Saul, and he's involved at the end of chapter 7. You'll see him. But Peter wasn't even involved to get. Peter was the first one, but that wasn't until Cornelius later in chapter 10. So it was all Hebrew Israelites. All of this were Hebrew Israelites giving the message of the Hebrew Messiah to other Hebrew Israelites. And there was no Christianity. Y'all understand that? Right here? They weren't preaching no Christianity. These weren't even called Christians. They were disciples. Remember it said, they said they called all the disciples together. That's what they were called, disciples. They weren't called Christians. They were called disciples. And he called all of the disciples together. That is, the people that was under the faith of the Messiah. And it says, notice it said, verse 7, a great company of priests were obedient to the faith. Is that Christianity? Is that the faith they were talking about in chapter 6 of the book of Acts with all of these Hebrews from Africa? Is it the faith of Christianity we're talking about? No. It is the faith of Messiah, which was Messiah's Father's righteousness. Father's righteousness is the faith of Messiah. Okay? They were talking about obedient to the faith of Messiah. That's why they were called disciples of Messiah. Okay? No, Paul was of the tribe of Benjamin. Paul was not a Gentile. He was of the tribe of Benjamin. He was Saul of Tarsus of the tribe of Benjamin. That's who Paul was. Praise the Most High. Okay? All right. So now, Acts chapter 6, verse 10 through 15. So they were disputing with Stephen, a Hebrew Israelite. And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then they suborned men, which said, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against Yahweh. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council and set up false witnesses, which said, this man ceaseth not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law. For we have heard him say that this Yahushua of Nazareth shall destroy this place and shall change the customs which Moses delivered us. And all that sat in the council, looking steadfastly on him, saw his face as had been the face of an angel. So the Hebrew Israelites were receiving the message of the Messiah. Some did not, as you saw. They were arguing with Stephen, and they brought a false witness that said he was trying to change Moses' law. Notice they said it was a false witness, because that is not what they were trying to do. So let's establish a couple of things right quick. There was no Christianity. There was no Christian religion. There was no Gentiles receiving this truth. They weren't called Christians at this time. It was all Hebrew Israelites by Hebrew Israelites sent from the Messiah, who is a Hebrew Israelite. And they were obedient to the faith. That is the faith of Messiah. Okay, now wait a minute. Let me just show you from the word what the Bible describes as the faith of Messiah. Okay, let's look at that. Let's start with Romans Romans chapter 3. Romans chapter 3, verse 22. Now, this is all Paul, because Paul was the witness of the faith of Messiah. So that's why they called it obedient to the faith. But let's look at it, even though it's one witness so far. We can get other witnesses. I can get Ezekiel as a witness also. But let's also look at this, though. So now I'm going to start at verse 20. Start at verse 20. And I'm going to read from verse 20 down to verse 23. No, wait a minute. Verse 20 to 22 to start us off with. Yes, verse 20 to 22. Okay. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. So this is what Christians use to say the law has been done away with. But it didn't say the law has been done away with. He says, by the deeds of the law shall no flesh be justified. Very important that we understand what it means to be justified. Being justified means to be declared innocent. So by obedience to the law, you're not going to be declared innocent from your sin. For all have sinned, said in verse 19. So by obedience to the law, nobody can be declared innocent. That is what justification means. Okay. But now, verse 21, the righteousness of Yahweh without the law is manifested, being witnessed by the law and the prophets. Very important. So the way of salvation is borne witness by the law and the prophets. In other words, they bear witness to this way of salvation. This is from Yahweh, and it's nothing to do with obedience to the law to be declared innocent. What is it then? Verse 22. Even the righteousness of Yahweh, which is by faith of Messiah Yahweh Shai. See, so Messiah's faith is the faith they're talking about, and his Father's righteousness. That's what the faith of Messiah is. Again, Romans 1, 16 and 17. I am not ashamed of the gospel of Messiah, for it is the power of Yah unto salvation to all that believe, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek, for therein is the righteousness of Yah revealed. So Messiah's gospel is Father's righteousness. Messiah's faith is Father's righteousness. Y'all got that so far? Y'all got that? Philippians. This is the same witness. Paul's one witness. Philippians chapter 3. Philippians chapter 3. All right, let's see. I'm going to start at verse 8 of Philippians chapter 3 and go down to verse 9. Verse 8 and 9, the faith. What is the faith that we're talking about? Verse 8 and 9, what is the faith that the Hebrews were teaching to the other Hebrews, that they were receiving the faith? Notice it says, verse 8 and 9. Yea, doubtless I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Messiah Yahweh Shai my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Christ or Messiah, and be found in him, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Messiah, the righteousness which is of Yahweh by faith. Father Yah's righteousness is Messiah's faith. You got that so far? It's called the faith of Messiah, not faith in Messiah. It's called the faith of Messiah. That is the faith that the priests were obedient to. Again, let's continue in Jude, second witness. We got Paul as a witness, right? So we got now Jude as a witness. Jude. And it's just, Jude is basically a one-page book, really. They call it a book, but it's not really a book. It's just like one of the one-pagers that's from a prophet, an Israelite prophet. So here's Jude, and I'm going to go begin at verse 1 down to verse 3. I'm going to go actually from 1 to 4. From 1 to 4. Jude 1 through 4. Jude, the servant of Messiah Yahushua, and brother of James, to them that are sanctified by Yah the Father, and preserved in Messiah Yahushua and called. Again, I want you to notice, they didn't say Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, did they? All these letters don't start. None of them start like that. So there's no Trinity. What did he say? Servant of Yahushua the Messiah, brother of James, to them that are sanctified by Yahweh, Father, and preserved in Messiah. Mercy unto you, and peace and love be multiplied. Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you that and exhort you that ye should earnestly contend for the faith once delivered unto the saints. What faith was delivered? Yah's righteousness, Messiah's faith, the faith of Messiah. Wait a minute. For there are certain men which crept in unawares. That means people that was looking like us, saying they with us, but really wasn't, snuck in unawares, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our Most High into lasciviousness and denying the only Father Yahweh and our Master Yahushua. So they turned the faith into lasciviousness. They turned the faith into sin. The faith was supposed to be of righteousness and of truth, but they turned it into sin. You know, like saying the law's done away with. Like that. Or saying there's no more law, was nailed to the cross. Like that. Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 14. Revelation 14 and verse 12. Revelation 14 and verse 12. That would bring it all together here. This is our fourth witness, by the way. Paul, actually, Jude, right? That's three. This is our third witness. Paul, Jude, and now John. This is our third witness. Revelation 14 and verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that do two things. What two things do they do? They keep the commandments of Yahweh, that is the Father's commandments, and the faith in Jesus. You look at any other translation of the Bible. New King James, New American Standard Version, New International Version. You look at any other translation, it's going to say faith in Jesus. It's going to say faith in Jesus. And it's false. This is one of the verses I look at. I call it my little code to see if the translation is sound. It says here is the patience of the saints in the King James Version. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Messiah. And again, we just saw the definition. The faith of Messiah is Father's righteousness. Somebody said, well, that's not a big deal. In and of. Apparently, the Bible thinks it is. Let's look at Galatians chapter 2 and verse 20. Galatians chapter 2. Actually, I'm going to start at verse 16. Galatians is another one of those. You know, these are like codes. You can look it up and you can see that whatever. They say, well, they got this new Hebrew translation. They got the right name, you know, but that ain't what you're looking for. Because all of us going to learn the right name. The Bible says he's going to give us a new language because the language is all messed up, right? But he's going to give us, he's going to return unto us a pure language, Zephaniah tells us. So it ain't about the name. No, what it really is about is the faith. Okay, Galatians chapter 2, verse 16. Watch very carefully because it makes a great distinction between in and of. Are you ready? Galatians 2:16. Very important. Read this very carefully. Ready? Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of, and I'm going to read it just as it says for clarity, okay? Knowing that, and I can't use the word God, but okay. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Jesus Christ. Even we have believed in Jesus Christ, that we might be justified by the faith of Christ, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. So we believe in the Messiah, that we could be justified through the Messiah's faith. the faith of Messiah. That is, Father's righteousness. Father's righteousness is the only thing that can cause us to be declared innocent or justified. Y'all understand that? So when all of these Christians keep trying to tell you the law is done away with, and they look at Acts 6 and they think those are a bunch of Gentiles, and none of them are Gentiles, and none of them are doing away with the law of Yah, you can understand why. Back to chapter 6. So they were looking at, there were these Africans that were really Hebrews. Now, why was Africans Hebrews? Well, we know that over the course of time, from the time of Acts, which is the first century, over the course of time, many of our brothers and sisters were scattered. They were already being scattered. So we know that, brothers during the course of time went into Egypt, went into Africa. We know from when Babylon came, when the Assyrians came, right? Then later after that, the Medes and the Persians and the Greeks came. And then finally the Romans. Our brothers have been scattered into Africa and into other places a long time, many centuries. So by the time you got to Acts chapter 6, we had established synagogues in the land called Africa today. And they said, right? They showed us the Libertines, the Cyrenians, the Alexandrians. We had established synagogues in places like Ethiopia. We had Cush that were really Hebrews in this land. This was before Messiah even came, because that's what this stuff is about. Y'all following me so far? So back to Acts chapter 7. So we're going to look at Acts chapter 7. Now we're going to get to our history. I'm going to read from Acts chapter 7, from verse 1 down to verse 15. Okay? Acts chapter 7, from verse 1 to verse 15. See, that's how I'm saying, when you read the whole Bible and you read it with prayer and your Father's Spirit guiding you, there's things that you're going to see that you're going to say, Dad, I wasn't taught that in my Baptist church. I wasn't taught that in my Catholic church. I wasn't taught that in my Pentecostal church, my Jehovah's Witness church, my Seventh-day Adventist church. I wasn't taught that in the Mormon church. Joseph Smith never told me that. But the Bible does. See, the Bible does. There you go. Acts chapter 1, from verse 1 down to verse 15. Then said the high priest, are these things so? And he said, men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The Most High of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Haran. Now, this is now Stephen talking. This is Stephen's final testimony, sealing it with his martyrdom. And he said unto him, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I shall show thee. And then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans and dwelt in Haran. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into his land wherein ye now dwell. And he gave him none inheritance in it, no, not so much as to set his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it him for possession, and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. And Yahweh spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years. And when the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, saith Yahweh. After that, they shall come forth and serve me in this place. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begot Isaac, and circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot the 12 patriarchs. And the patriarchs, moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt. But Yahweh was with him, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and made him governor over Egypt and to all his house. Now there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt and Canaan, and great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance. But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent our fathers first And the second time Joseph was made known to his brethren, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred, 75 souls. So Jacob went down into Egypt, and he died, he and our fathers. See, Stephen's given us our history, isn't it? Give us our history. And we read about it, we're reading about it in Genesis. This is our history. Remember, Genesis was written by Moses. Moses was given our history. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's not only our history, but our future, particularly Deuteronomy, as we all know. So the Most High has given us our history, showing us how we became the nation we became, showing us that he is the only true God and he is our God, and he's only shown himself to us. He's shown himself to us in terms of individual Israelites like Moses and like Abraham and like Isaac and like Jacob. And he showed himself to us as a nation, which brings us to Psalms 105, which we saw earlier, where he said, and let's read that one more time, not the whole thing, but just that part one more time. Psalms 105, where he says here, beginning at verse 6 and going down to verse 10, Psalms 105, 6 through 10, which we just read. Just want to read this part for emphasis of our history, of who we are, of where we come from, and how we got here. Psalms 105, 6 through 10. O ye seed of Abraham his servant, ye children of Jacob his chosen. He is Yahweh our most high. His judgments are in all the earth. He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham, and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant. There we are. That's us. That's who we are. That's how we became. And of course, we have read the book of Revelation, and we know where we're going. Praise the Most High. The testimony, the future of the entire planet Earth is bound in us. That's the truth about it. The future of the entire planet Earth is bound in us. Yes, what they say, Sister Azariah. Again, that goes with all the perversions of Christianity. Pork now being clean because Peter was dreaming to kill and eat. Because Messiah said nothing makes you unclean that you eat. Yes, that's the perversions, the brainwashing of Christianity, the twisting of doctrines. And you see, brethren, how if you don't read the whole Bible, if you just focus on the New Testament, you really can make the Bible say whatever you want it to say. If you just focus on the Old Testament and ignore the New Testament, you can make the Bible say whatever you want it to say. But when you read the whole thing together and you match it together and you humble yourself to understand it's not contradicting each other, the shortfall in terms of knowledge is on us. Well, then you can see there's only one way. There's only one Father. There's only one Messiah. There's only one Holy Spirit from the Father. And he's got one people that he has chosen. And he's got one plan for the whole earth involving those people. And the whole earth's destiny is tied to us. They just don't realize it. And if they do, they're trying to fight it. That's part of the battle of the spiritual war that we're in. They're trying to destroy us. The devil wants to destroy us and take over the planet. He wants to replace us with his own version of the chosen people. Is that right? He wants to replace us with his own version of the chosen people. He wants his own version of the universal church. But he only thinks to change times and laws. He can never change what Father has ordained. Genesis chapter 46. Genesis chapter 46. I'm going to read from verse 1 to 4. Genesis chapter 46 from verse 1 to 4. And Israel took his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices unto the Most High of his father Isaac. And the Most High spake unto Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am the Most High of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. And I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again. And Joseph shall put his hand upon thine eyes. In other words, he's saying, you're going to die with Joseph there. And that's great news for a father that thought his son was dead. You're going to die in Joseph's presence. He's going to be the one to be there with you. What a great testimony. Isn't that, I mean, what an amazing. So he's telling Jacob, yes, your son's alive. Go down there. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to make your little tribe of 75 souls into a nation. I'm going to bless you there. Praise the Most High. Yeah. And, you know, they went voluntarily into Egypt, right? And he delivered them because the Egyptians turned on them. Now, of course, we have a long history with the people of Mizraim and Ham. We have a long history. That's why we're often confused, because our seeds have been mingled. But the seed, even though it's been mingled, is counted as Hebrew. Y'all need to understand that. There's no such thing as half and half to the Most High. When the Hebrew seed enters into somebody, they're Hebrew seed. Don't let some of these knuckleheads tell you, well, who's your father? You know who your father was 300 years ago? Was it Massa Moore? Was it Massa Mo? Wasn't that your father? Massa Jones? Massa Smith? You don't know who your father was 300 years ago when we was in chains and living in the slave quarters. Who your father was, you don't even know. But we do know that Jacob is our father. We do know that Jacob is our father. Okay? And you got the Hebrew seed. That's all that matters. See? You could be, you know, like Joseph with the Hamitic woman and have two sons. He's Hebrews. Manasseh and Ephraim. The Hebrews. You can be with Moses and have a Cushite wife and have two sons, Eleazar and I forgot the other one's name, but those are Hebrews. Those not half and half. Them Hebrews. I was explaining this to my son the other day because my two grandsons he had with a child of Yafet. I said, the child of Yafet is incapable of creating melanin. You gave her melanin through those two sons. Am I lying? The children of Yafet, in and of themselves, are incapable of, scientifically cannot create melanin. But when you mix with the Hebrew seed, guess what you just created? A being with melanin. Am I right? Whereas she would have not had melanin come from her, except it was from the Hebrew seed. See, what happened in the United States of America, and unfortunately in all of the places we're in, we were enslaved by the children of Yafet. People started to think it's very important that you get related to Yafet. Like you can get ahead. Actually, my father was the child of a rape from a German man. And my grandmother, being dark, was like, oh, this is a blessing because you can make it. That's how perverted we got. Okay, so you got people in Dominican Republic saying, I'm not black, man. I'm Dominican. Not knowing, they not even understanding why. You're trying to relate to the Spaniard. You're trying to relate to the Spaniard. There's no such thing as Latin. You're Hebrew. That's where you come from. That's who you are. That's the seed that gave you the melanin. Okay, so they try. That's why you got people, you know, in Puerto Rico trying to get as light as they can. They don't want to be, we're Puerto Rican, man. No, we're Puerto Rican. No, you're a Hebrew. The Spaniards gave you Martinez. The Spaniards gave you Gonzalez. And you know, the Spaniards did that. That's not who you are, though. That's not who you are. You're a Hebrew. You understand? Right. Right. Exactly. Trying to lighten yourself up. Because that's why we're trying to be friends with our captors. Isn't that sad, though? We're trying so hard to please the slave master that we want to be called white. So at the very least, we'll say, well, we're mixed. We're half white. Will you accept me then because I'm half white? And what do they say to us? If you got one drop of blood, you ain't white. If you got one drop of black blood, you ain't white. That's what they tell us. And we're begging the master, I'm half white though. So much we want to be accepted as, and this is sad, isn't it? When you don't know who you are, you're an orphan, and you try your best to be accepted by your master. You know what Malcolm X called it? The house Negro. And I'm saying it nicely. He said most of us are field Negroes, but you got some of those that are house Negroes. They want to be near their master. They love their master. They want to live near him. They want to be just like him. When the master got sick, they said, what's the matter, boss? We sick. What's the matter, boss? We sick. Still got house Negroes. Don't even realize they being house Negroes. So when you live in Puerto Rico, or you live in Dominican, or you live in Cuban, and you try to say, well, I'm not black, I am Cuban. What you're trying to say is, I'm still faithful to my master, the Spaniard. I'm still faithful to my master, the Spaniard. The Spaniard master. That makes you a house Negro. That's what makes you a house Negro. You just love your master so much, you'll deny who you are to be faithful to your master. You'll try your best to get as light as you can so you could be like your master. No, you get some Hebrew in you, you got the Hebrew seed. That's the royal seed. The Hebrew seed is the royal seed. Did I say it was royalty? Or was Abraham called the father of a nation? Do we have kings in our background? Was David a Hebrew? Is the Messiah a prince? Isn't he our cousin? So the Hebrew seed is a royal seed. Okay? It's a royal seed. And yeah, and them brothers talking about, who's your father? My father's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's my father. No, who's your daddy? Tell me who your daddy was when you was in the slave plantation in South Carolina. Massimo. That might have been your daddy. Master Johnson. What's your name? What's your government name? Johnson. Oh, then your master was named Johnson. Your master was named Smith. Your master was named Bunch. That's your master. Oh, so who's your daddy? Yeah, man. We got to look deeper. Isn't that right? Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. He's causing us to do just that. Look deeper into who we really are. Look deeper and understand. Praise the Most High. Genesis. Genesis chapter 46, beginning at verse 5. Let's see. Oh, yes, we're getting into We're getting into the seed. So first, let's go from verse 5 to 7. Genesis chapter 46 from verse 5 to 7. And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father and their little ones and their wives in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and their goods which they had gotten in the land of Canaan and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all the seed brought he with him into Egypt. So you got to remember, when they're counting the souls in Genesis, they're only counting the males. They're not counting the sisters. And that's why when you go to Acts, it says 75, and here it says 70. They don't count all of the women, and they didn't count all of the wives of the sons. The sons had wives. They didn't count all of them either, but they counted the souls of the males in Genesis. Okay, so when you say 70 souls, it's about 70 men. Okay. So let's go here. Let's go from verse 8. Let's go from verse 8 down to verse 9. Let's start off with each son, okay? And these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt, Jacob and his sons. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn. And the sons of Reuben, Hanak, Phalu, and Hezron, and Carmi. So Reuben had 4 sons. So Jacob's son Reuben of that tribe had 4 sons. Okay, verse 10. And the sons of Simeon, Yamuel, Yamin, and Ahad, and Yakin, and Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanitess woman. They separated that out. See, so Simeon had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sons. Boy, they was multiplying. That's right, Castle King, or under 5 years old. Thank you, Castle King is right. Or under 5 years old. They didn't count them. All right, the sons of Lewi, Gershon, Kohath, Merari. Now that's important, right? Because Gershon, Kohath, and Merari became later the 3 sections of the priesthood. Okay, and Kohath was Moses's descendant, and that was Aaron's descendant, Kohath. And Kohath, those became the priest that was ministering in the sanctuary. Okay, so these Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. You're going to hear more about them later. And the sons of Judah, Onan, Shalath, Pharez, Zarah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan, and the sons of Pharez, Hezron, and Amul. Now, why did he mention Pharez? Pharez is the one that ended up becoming the descendant, the ancient descendant of Messiah himself, of David. So all of them came from him. We know that the Most High put the other 2 sons down because they was wicked, right? And so now you had and Onan died, but then you had Shelah, Pharez, and Zerah. And then Pharez's son, Hezron and Hamul, and they bring that up because those are the descendants of the Messiah, of the royal seed of Judah. Okay? The sons of Issachar, Tola, Fuwa, Job, or Yab, and Shimron. That's now Issachar, 1, 2, 3, 4 sons. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Yahil. These is 3 sons of Zebulun. Now these is going to give all of these under Leah. Okay, these be the sons of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob in Padanaram, and with his daughter Dinah, all the souls of his sons and his daughter were 33. So he counts 33 there. Okay, the sons of Gad, Ziphion, Haggai, Shawani, Esbon, Ari, Aradi, and Aralai. How many was that? That was Gad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gad got busy. Gad had 7 sons. Gad got busy. Okay. The sons of Asher, Yimnah, Ishawa, Ishuai, Bariah, Shara, their sister. And the sons of Bariah, Eber, and Malchiah. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah, his daughter. These she bare unto Jacob, even 16 souls. So from Leah, there was 33. From Leah's handmaid Zilpah, there was 16. Okay. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph and Benjamin. That's it. Said Jacob's wife, Rachel. Joseph, and we know Joseph was born, he was 91. Benjamin, obviously, sometime after that, because Benjamin was younger than Joseph. And unto Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. The sons of Benjamin. Now watch Benjamin. Watch Benjamin. You think of Benjamin as some little boy, right? The sons of Benjamin, Bela, Bakar, Ashbal, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Moapim, Huapim, and Ar. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Benjamin had 10 sons. Benjamin had the most sons of any of Israel's children. He had 10 sons. Wow. These are the sons of Rachel, which were born to Jacob. All the souls were 14. So you're talking about 10 sons of Benjamin, 2 sons of Joseph, that's 12. And then there's Joseph himself and Benjamin himself, that's 14. And the sons of Dan, Huashim. Dan only had 1 son. The sons of Dan, Huashim. And the sons of Naphtali, Yazil, Guni, Yazir, and Shilim. 1, 2, 3, 4 sons for Naphtali. These are the sons of Bilhah, which Laban gave unto Rachel his daughter, and she bare these unto Jacob. All the souls were 7. So you had 14 and 7, 21 from Rachel's side. Okay. All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt all the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons' wives, all the souls were 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 70. So you had 66. Then you had Joseph, 67, and his 2 sons, 69, and then Jacob himself, 70. Okay. All the souls, it says, all the souls of the house of Jacob, is including Jacob, came in Egypt with 70. So that's 70 souls with Jacob coming into Egypt or Mizraim. Verse 28. Then, and he sent Judah before him unto Joseph to direct his face into Goshen. And they came into the land of Goshen. And Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen, and presented himself unto him, and he fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said unto Joseph, now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren and unto his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, my brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me. And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle. And they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you and shall say, what is your occupation? That ye shall say, thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth, even until now, both we and also our fathers, that we may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians. So Egyptians had some problem with people that raised cattle for some reason, maybe because they worship the golden calf. But that's what the justification was for Joseph to say to Pharaoh, send my family to Goshen, because they wanted to be separate, because they were shepherds. They raised cattle. Okay. They raised cattle. They raised beef. Jacob's sons raised beef. Isn't that interesting? So they raised beef, and they raised lamb, and they raised goats also, but they were mainly raising cattle. So they were being blessed. And by that, in that time, wealth was measured by how much land you had and how much of these livestock you had in terms of cattle, sheep, goats, so forth. And so these were cattlemen, and they were in the land of Goshen, and the Egyptians, they were the original cowboys. That's right. Matter of fact, Hebrews were known to be able to handle horses better than other people. Even came in over here, the bloodline coming here from Africa. The slave owners knew that they knew how to handle horses. They knew how to raise them, knew how to break them. They were expert in that. They brought that with them here. Okay. Now, and they were also raisers of cattle. Okay, a skill, raisers of cattle. So we were the original ones. Praise the Most High. Yeah. And as you know, we're mostly original in a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff was copied from us and stolen, right? But that's all right. So they were cattle, and because the Egyptians worshiped the golden calf, and the Israelites ate them, that's why they would separate them in Goshen. Do you all know that there's a group of people, a religion right now that still honors the cow? You know who that is? Just offhand. There's a religion right now that still honors the cow and will not eat it. That's right, the Hindus in India mostly, but they will not eat the cow. They will not eat the cow. Okay. Yep, the Hindus. So they honor the cow, and that's why you see a lot of people from India that are not real vegetarians, but will not eat beef because they really honor as a worship symbol the calf, and that we see first in Egypt. We see that first in Egypt. Yeah, praise the Most High. All right. Well, we've come through some serious history, our history. Yeah, that's right, Stephen Kelly. We were cattlemen. They enslaved us and fed us swine. And not even the best part, like we were talking about high off the hog, we ate chitlins, the guts, stuff we wouldn't even eat as Israelites. But as Ezekiel showed us, we would eat our defiled bread in our enemy's land. That's exactly what it is. Yes, in India, they worship the cow as part of Hinduism. They worship the cow. Yes, they do. The Hindus worship the cow. And so they don't eat it, just like the Egyptians worship the golden calf. So apparently, as we can see just from these examples and these two very populous peoples, that calf and cow worship go back a long way. It's not new, it goes back a long way. The worship of the cow is going back a long way. Yeah, go back a long way. But the Hebrews raised the cows, and we did it for land, for food, for clothes. The leather of the cow was clothing for us. The milk of the cow was milk for us. And we had that long time before there was even in the United States of America, there was Hebrews raising cattle. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. Okay. Until we get to the next chapter, may the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, family.